Hey everybody, it's Lord Gunther, and just getting back to you guys after 2 weeks off of racing. And my last video was last week, and I honestly thought it was race week, so I was actually looking for like the races on like Thursday and Friday, like the free practice 1 and 2. Yeah, kind of found out that it wasn't. So my apologies for telling you guys last week it was race week. That's my bad. But I was super excited because when I found out that Yuki was getting that Red Bull seat, I was excited because for him, I think it's a long time coming. I definitely thought he should have been in there, but I obviously can understand where Red Bull is like, we don't need somebody to push Max. Um, I think Yuki came a long way from when they first brought him up. So I think, you know, they should have gave him a shot, and it's sad that they didn't, and they might have just broken Lawson. But I think he should have been Lawson should have been in that racing bull. So we'll see what happens this weekend. I really think that it's gonna be interesting to see him in that Red Bull. I think he might have the best chance to maybe this season. You know, I want to say give Max any trouble, but to help Red Bull score some points. And I mean, Racing Bull should have scored some points in the first two races. I think it was just bad luck and poor racing strategy on their part. So I mean, to be with no points, it's that's just how racing is, and that's how it goes sometimes. So, anyways, I really wanted to be to provide you guys with something different. So I know last week I gave you guys kind of how I got into it, and I just wanted to give you kind of one of my cautionary tales is um I was, when I first came back into the hobby in 2019, 2018 time frame, people would say, you should always buy like goats and or the greatest of all times, right? So, yeah, I did some of that. And because I like to think outside the box, um, some of those goats weren't your normal goats. When they people talk about goats, they're talking about like Jordan, Gretzky, um, Mantle, all those guys, and Brady, um, all those guys. And yeah, when you first come into the hobby, you don't know what the hell you're doing. You're like, I ain't gonna spend that kind of money. Like, what can I get? And I ended up buying like crazy kind of stuff. I actually have probably a crap ton of Muhammad Ali. I know I not even probably. I have a crap ton of Muhammad Ali Leaf autos, which were one of his last sets of autos. They're like literally like only like maybe like 15 on card Muhammad 1500 on card Muhammad Ali autos throughout Muhammad Ali's career, that are like known, right? I mean, that can be like verified. There are some that are early, they have a really nice signature on it, but there were some fakes that happened and they don't grade them no more. And then you got this like kind of, I would say maybe 2012-ish time frame where I think over a span of 5 years or so, Leaf was getting Ali signing cards and stuff, and so his signature kind of degraded over time. But then again, I would say, like, from a standpoint of being not only potentially one of the greatest boxers of all time, but one of the greatest, like, social figures. He floats like a butterfly and stung like a bee. I mean, Cassius Clay. I mean, he didn't want to go to war. He went to jail for a little bit because of that, and still ended up being what he was. I think he was a social icon, and for but when you look at his autograph prices, 1,500 in the world, none more. They're going for like 600-700 bucks compared to Michael Jordan can sign a ton more autographs if he wanted to, and you're talking like people paying 3 to 25K for one. So sometimes buying the greats. But how does this relate to F1 cards? Well, I ended up being like, I gotta get myself some Lewis. And arguably Lewis is the greatest driver of his generation. 7 world championships. Could have been 8. Actually could have been 9 maybe if you kind of like factor in Rosberg. So you're talking, he could have been potentially, all-time multiple champion. But again, you have Michael Schumacher, who was sort of his best of his generation. You have Senna, who like potentially could have been the greatest of all time, had his career not been cut short. And then now you have Max Verstappen, who potentially is of this newest generation, could potentially be the greatest driver of his generation. But yeah, I figured, hey, Chrome hasn't been out for very long. What are the prices? So I started looking at stuff, and I realized, hey, maybe the best value in all of this is 70th anniversary golds. So now 70th anniversary golds were like short printed to like 115, I think, where golds are your typical gold waiver to 50. The 70th it was not numbered, and it had a logo that nobody really liked. I liked it personally, but the good things that were going for it were they didn't have numbering, so they didn't have the same issue as all of the 2020 printed numbered cards that had that little, like, they have like a little nibble on the back. That little nibble like basically made your card like a PSA 8, and for all the numbered stuff, that was pretty much where you wanted to end up. A PSA 8. There was a bunch of PSA 7s, not many PSA 9s, and I would say PSA 10 is unicorn out of the numbered stuff. There are some that exist, but they're pretty much unicorns. So the 70th gave you a chance. The 70th gave you a chance to gem these cards that potentially, like, if you gemmed, you got your value out of those cards. And I think that was what I was trying to look at. Was I was like, hey, what card can I get that has the best value, potentially, if to 50's going for this, like $4,000 or $5,000, like a to 100 potentially, hey, what, half the price, or actually it was probably more than $4,000 or $5,000 for that gold, but you're talking like, hey, what are you gonna do? So that's what I ended up picking. I kind of missed a few opportunities to pick up an orange, which was like, I think it's like the 75 if I'm not mistaken, but at the same price, I missed that. That was my bad. I mean, that would have been value, but I kind of screwed that one up. So I bought this 70th gold driver of Lewis Hamilton. I was really stoked. I ended up sending out the grading during the time that COVID was like 300, like I think it was like $300 or something to grade it. Paid $300 to grade it, got it back. It was a PSA 8. I was like, oh my god, it's even worse. The 70th anniversary is supposed to be grading like a 9, but I guess maybe surface. I couldn't. I tried it. I even resubbed it later on, and it came back a PSA 8. So that being said, it was a PSA 8. So I ended up trading that thing out later. And to my disappointment, I traded it out at a half decent time where there was like some incline in the prices for Lewis. So I only lost maybe like 40 or 50% on it. I mean, it was painful. And you're thinking to yourself, oh, I just bought a gold. Like, how can this happen? And this is before now, be it that 2020 came out, there was a period of like discovery for what everything was worth. You know, Lewis prices were like sort of here where everybody was out there, but there was some level of, okay, this is sort of the price. And then I bought it during that time frame, and then I believe as soon as Sapphire came out, I believe there was like a big deal on one of the cards, and boom, prices just went. Now that card I did buy it, if I sold it during that time frame, I probably would have made money. But it was COVID. I wanted to get it graded. All these things happened. I couldn't. It just didn't pan out. And but that's all 2020 hindsight, right? I also at that same time I was like, yo, I gotta get myself an IV 2020 Lewis Chrome Aqua to 99 because that's like the Mercedes color match. And obviously I'm not gonna get a purple because I thought, like, Lewis had his purple helmet thing, so I was like, oh, that's a pretty good color match. But the Aqua was like that, and I love the IV for Lewis. It was the only one, and he was sitting on the Petronas. I looked like a ball or something. It just that was, I mean, from an image standpoint, I think it was the best IV image. Oh, maybe not. I guess maybe the Vettel or the Leclerc, that steamy Leclerc kind of look. But anyways, the Lewis, I got that thing. I held on to it. And the only reason why I didn't grade it right away is like it had a pretty nice nibble in the back. I was like, oh, maybe this is not even a PSA 8. Why I'm gonna spend that kind of money? I'll wait. I waited. And it got a little bit more affordable to submit the card again, so I submitted it, and it came back a PSA 8, and I was like, hallelujah. That was a really good grade for that card, and it was borderline PSA 7, PSA 8. I ended up just selling it recently, which I was totally okay with, because honestly, I really at that point had grown away from that card. Uh, I in my possession I I had a driver purple of Lewis, which I sold because I was like, oh, I want something better. Sold that, used the money to go um buy that gold 70th. And then during that time, I was lucky enough to pick up 2 gold Lewis Hamilton track tags. And they were like dirt cheap. Like, you talking like a gold, I think I picked up for like $500. Um, and a gold portrait was going for like, I don't know, 8,000, maybe 4,000. I would say it's like 4 to 8,000. And I'm like, well, this is extreme value. I mean, this track tag card is like the best, I think, the coolest card in the whole set. I mean, and I'll tell you a story about that later on. I mean, I think people were like super undervaluing inserts, driver. So, you know, when everybody's going one way, I like to go the other way. It's just my style. I'm kind of, my friends go, oh, well, you like to collect weird stuff, Chad. You're pretty eccentric. And it's just because I just don't like to be part of the herd. And I mean, F1 did it for me. And I mean, hoping that F1 does it for you guys as well. So, but anyways, I had gold track tags, and I just decided to, move on with life. And I had a mentor tell me one time, basically when I'm collecting, was like, never sell an item before it's time. And I was like, yeah, no, not its time, not its time, not its time. And then now it became its time. And I don't want this channel to be really about becoming a profiteer. This is more so to help you guys like understand F1 cards, help curate and cultivate your collections. But there is some portion of buy low, sell high, take money, buy cooler stuff, sell high, take money, buy really cool stuff, and then eventually get to your grail, right? And I have no problems with that. It's kind of weird too. I'm super protective of my PC, so I mean, I definitely had cards that people wanted, and I definitely never wanted to sell them. But I mean, if you get to know me as a person and you can prove to me that, hey, I'm gonna send my baby to a good home, um, I like to do that kind of stuff. So that being said, that's one huge, I think one huge thing, um, when you're trying to get cards from collectors like myself, where like I don't want to let go of this thing, I love it, is um I mean, one, don't treat people like I need that card. Like, I mean, there's some people that are very aggressive, but that ain't gonna make me sell the card. I don't really. But if you give me some meaning, like I had a red Kimmy. I think I might. I don't think I've ever saw another one since, which is kind of crazy. I had a red Kimmy to five, um driver auto that I scooped up, and I had befriended somebody who like was really serious about putting together a red driver grail set, and I was like, dude, that's gonna be almost near impossible, but you know, good luck with that. And they needed my red Kimmy, and we became really good. I feel like we became really good friends, um and then I was like, okay, well, I'll give you. I felt at that price it was a pretty fair price, and I think we both agreed they were both fair prices, and for me to let go of something that was so important, um, that that made a huge difference. So, it's never. I don't ever want to feel like, oh, I'm selling it to you because you're gonna go take it and flip it. That's just not my style, right? Like, I would rather just like, no, I'll hold on to it. It's cool. I'll wait for somebody that, like, in my mind, like, sort of deserves it. Yeah, it hurts sometimes when you see your car go from your hands to somebody else's hands and directly into somebody else's hands, and they're like, I made like $2,000 on that. You're like, well, ain't selling to you again. I'm telling you that much. Or I'll be very careful about selling to that person. So I'm willing to always work and cut deals because I understand that, sometimes you gotta give to receive. And I think it's important to be able to realize that it's not always about maximizing profit. Like, leave something on the table for the guy so that he can have some reassurance that, hey, he made the right deal. Maybe give your, and then, oh, hey, well, give me a deal, right? Always, like, if somebody gives you a deal, I would, try to give them a deal back someday, pay it back. And I always try to pay it forward. So I've been very, very lucky in paying things forward, and I don't do it just because, if, oh yeah, that's gonna, get, no, I just do it because, you just want to be treated the way you want to be treated, right? You treat others the way you want to be treated, and that's the way I do it. So yeah, getting off of my soapbox for a second, but yeah, realistically, that's what happened. I ended up getting these Lewis's. I ended up taking losses on them. So I mean, it's not a try and true formula to success buying goats. You need to buy them at the right time. um you gotta buy, don't be buying out of FOMO. um you just gotta be looking for value, and I think if you look for value, you'll eventually will work well. So I mean, again, I tell people too, like, you can buy prospects, right? Like, it's almost like, my best analogy would be, people that baseball collectors, right? I love it. I used to love, like, buying Bowman, and then, like, rifling through Bowman first cards, which are their, like, first prospect cards. And you're like speculating. I would watch videos on guys, watch them pitch, watch them hit, And because I was a baseball guy when I was growing up, I was like, this guy's got something. I really like him. I'm gonna go try to get his. Oh, he's not a top prospect, but maybe he's got something. You start doing this, but you start realizing that when you're prospecting, you're like waiting for years. And I'll be the first to admit that, like, when I bought Lando in 2020, I was straight up prospecting. And but I like the kid, and I've since then, look, I mean, I got his hat and everything. I actually didn't have a Lando hat. I didn't have a McLaren hat this year. Um, just figured it'd be a good time to get one. My other McLaren hat was just like busted. Um, but I hope he can pull through. But it's like I waited almost 5 years for this to happen, to even have him be able to be in contention, right? So just understand that when you are buying prospects and they're cheap because of the fact that you're gonna have to wait 5 to 6 years to open that little mystery thing and be like, yeah, I won. Versus being like buying somebody that's already done it. Like, so just remember, try to look at values, over time. um there are people that are just definitely undervalued, and I'll be the first to tell you that. Like, there are a few world champions that have cards in the modern era of F1 cards. um you got Lewis, who's probably gonna make you pay, especially next year when he goes to Ferrari. That's gonna, like, not next year, when next year's cards come up in his Ferrari uniform. I think that's gonna, like, his cards are gonna be to die for. You got Max, who's, definitely could add another championship here and there. If he stays motivated and he's got the car, he's gonna win another championship and, stake his claim. But his cards are already high. But there's other guys like, you got Sebastian Vettel, 4-time champion, right? Some people say, oh, well, it's because of the car. Dude's a 4-time champion, nonetheless. 4-time champion, right? Maybe he wasn't the best character. I think in his late years in F1, I think a lot of people found love for Seb. So don't ever sleep on Seb. He's a 4-time world champion. You got Fernando Alonso, 2-time world champion. I mean, he could have been a 4-time world champion too. I mean, he lost like one world drivers championship by like 3 points on the last race. Sort of sucked that happened. But I mean, Fernando Alonso, 2-time world champion. You got guys like Mika Hakkinen, who are like, in this new set, there's only like very little amount of those guys, but he's a 2-time champion. You got Kimi Räikkönen, who's probably one of the coolest world champions because he only has one, but like just loved by a lot of F1 fans, right? Because of his, just like, he could give no crap about anything, right? Like, I'm done, I'm gonna walk to my yacht. Or where were you? I was using the bathroom, per se, right? So lots of value out there. So don't just think that you gotta go get the greatest of all time. There's other value there. Just look at the value, look at the prices, try to figure out why something's worth more than the other. And if you're like, well, that just doesn't make sense, tread lightly, because you don't want to go and do a Muhammad Ali stack a ton of Muhammad Ali autos. And maybe one day I probably may be better for it, but till then, who knows? That being said, it is race week this time. Welcome to Suzuka 2025 Japan Grand Prix. Yuki in a Red Bull. Let's go. Hopefully we get a good race, no rain. Usually rains in Suzuka, regardless of what time of the year. But we don't want one of those other races where they were like half blind driving through it and emergency cars on the road and all that kind of stuff. So, but I expect it to be a good weekend. I mean, I hope I hope my papaya boys do well. I definitely, this guy right here. And I know people hate me, probably gonna hate me for that, but I'm just a landlord guy, so you know what? Oh well. Um, but yeah, you guys have a great race week and a better race weekend. And I'll see you guys next week again, and we'll try to do some recaps and stuff along the way. But till then, bye.